تذكر يوما كنت تعانق دمعة الفكر تناجي الله في صبر وترجو رحمة تسري فعاش القلب إخلاصا وصرت تحوم كالطير تحلق في ثقافات وتنهل.
One of the things that a recurring theme is that, the children, the parents are telling them, you have to pray, you have to pray, you have to pray. And a lot of you grew up, your parents said, look, you got to pray, you got to pray. If you don't pray, you're punished. If you don't pray, I'm going to whip you. If you don't pray, right? And so you pray because your parents were on top of you. You pray because you were forced to pray. And that's not a bad reason. But the point is, how many of you actually took the time personally to sit back and say, why am I praying? Why am I praying? Do I even believe this? Am I praying because my dad's going to whip me if I don't pray? Or am I praying because I actually believe I'm going to die one day and I'm going to have to answer to Allah? Because I believe Allah revealed the Quran, and in the Quran I'm guided to pray 5 times a day. Am I praying because I believe that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was sent by Allah with guidance for mankind? Do we actually sit back and actually think, what do I believe and what does it mean to me? And then there's another question, right? Another question is, how do I manifest that in my life? If I say to you, this is an easy one. If I say to you, what does it mean? All of us believe, inshallah, all of us believe that Allah is As-Sami'u Al-Basir, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the hearing and the seeing. Right? He hears all things and He sees all things. Now, one of the things about this, never mind, because I'll get deep into it and I don't want to, but the point here is that Allah sees and hears all things. All things. Right? So, automatically, what does that mean to me? What that means to me is that no matter who I talk to, Allah is there listening. No matter where I'm at, Allah sees me. No matter what I'm doing, Allah knows. Right? And so, how do you manifest that in the world? How do you manifest that in the world? Anyone? Taqwa, right? This iman, this faith that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is hearing and seeing, this is the seed of taqwa. If you know that Allah hears and sees, then you're going to be on guard. You're going to be watchful. You're going to make sure that you're not saying things that are displeasing to Allah. You're going to make sure that you're not doing things that are displeasing to Allah Azza wa Jal. In this way, this faith means something. Because it means something to you. Right? What does it mean to you? It means that Allah is with me, Allah is watching me, Allah is listening. It's not just Allah has hearing and seeing. No, now it means, that's the faith. But now what does it mean to me? What it means to me is Allah is with me. Right? Allah hears me, Allah sees me, Allah knows what I'm going through. When this guy is talking bad to me, when this guy is disrespecting me, when these people are making fun of me, when this guy wants to hurt me, right? When all of these things are going down, I know that Allah sees and hears all things. And so He knows what I'm going through. Right? And so when that's the situation, then how do I manifest that in the world? There's 2 things. One is taqwa, and because of the example that I just gave, another one is having courage. Right? Because Allah knows what we're going through. So with the way we manifest it, the way that we manifest this faith in our lives is by having taqwa. Right? By having taqwa. And so this is we have to lay the foundations by asking ourselves serious questions. And this isn't something that parents can give to children. It's something that we can teach, and it's something that we can guide. But at the end of the day, it takes everyone has to go through their own questioning. What is it that me as an individual, what is it that I believe? What are my views? What does this mean in my life? And how am I manifesting it in my life? And by laying that foundation, of iman, that actually sets. There's a reason it's called usul. This is the roots. This is the foundation. This is what we build from. And from that foundation, once we establish that, the next question is, what is the Sharia? And I don't want to get into a lot of this because I'm actually going to talk more in depth on these things when we talk about when we talk, hopefully, to the people who have entered into Islam, inshallah, later on this evening. But one of the things is, how many of us really, we hear Sharia, this word Sharia, but how many of us really even understand? It's the rules. When we hear the word fiqh, what does this mean to us? What are the rulings in Islam? How many rulings? How many rulings are there in Islam? So everything that we do falls under one of these 5 legal rulings. What's it? I'll give you another translation, inshallah. Wajib is the obligatory actions, those things that you have to do. If you don't do them, you're in a state of sin. Mustahab are those things that are beloved to Allah, those things that are recommended. And this is, if you do it, there's reward, and if you don't do it, then you're in a if you do it, there's a reward, and if you don't do it, you're not in a state of sin. Mubah is those things that are neutral. If you do it, then it's okay, and if you don't do it, it's okay. Right? There's no reward, there's no sin. Makruh, it's disliked, and what this means is that if you do it, there's no sin, but if you avoid it, there's reward. And then there's haram, and that is that if you do it, you're in a state of sin, and if you avoid it, then there is reward. And these are the 5. Everything in Islam goes back to these 5 rulings. And so if you know the rulings, then you can figure out, what should I be doing and what should I not be doing? Where should I be and where should I not be? And then you come into the next set of questions, and that is, what am I supposed to be doing? What is it that as a Muslim I have to do? And this is one of the things that we have to have a wider concept of who we are as a people. A lot of times we think of piety, he's such a pious Muslim because he's always reciting Quran, he's always in the masjid, he's always reading hadith, look at the way he acts, look at the way he dresses. And then we see somebody else that, they're always coming to the masjid with tahara, they make wudu, they pray 5 times a day, and then they go work and they earn a living for their family, and we're like, alhamdulillah, he's a Muslim. He's a Muslim, but this guy over here, he's pious, right? Because we think that always picking up books and reading books and praying and these things, they make you super pious. But the reality is that one is not different than the other. They have different roles in life. Right? They have different roles in life. As this guy who goes to work every single day, he prays his 5 daily prayers, he makes dua to Allah, he trusts in Allah, and then he goes and earns a lawful living so that he could take care of the responsibilities, the trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laid down upon him. He's just as pious, if not more so, than the other person. Right? And so the point that I'm making here is simply that we have to understand what we have to do and differentiate that from what we want to do or what our personality is. And if a person is doing what they must do, you know how to make wudu, you know how to pray 5 times a day, you know when you're supposed to pray 5 times a day, you know all of these things that you have to do as a Muslim, and they're not many. There's really not many. We put more things on us, but the point here is, what is it that as a Muslim I have to do? And as a Muslim, what is it that I cannot do? Right? What is it that a Muslim can't do? Honestly speaking, if you count, and there's different, ulama have counted up to 70 khaba'ir, right? 70 major sins. But the reality is that you could count the things that every single Muslim must avoid, the easy things that every single Muslim must avoid. You can count it on 2 hands. Right? It's easy. MashaAllah. The point here is that, but you have to lay the foundation. You have to know what is the Sharia. And this is part of our problem, is that we don't even understand when we use the term Sharia. We're Muslims and we don't even understand what we mean when we say Sharia. This becomes problematic because when somebody comes to you and they're non-Muslims, do you want Sharia law in America? Oh no, I don't want Sharia law in America. Oh, you don't want to make wudu in America? Because the wudu is part of the Sharia, right? So we, as Muslims, we have to know what we're talking about when it comes to our religion. And so knowing our iman, knowing our aqidah is one thing. Knowing what that means to us, knowing how we manifest it, that's one thing. But then we have to understand what are the legal rulings. What is it that every single Muslim must do? What is it that every single Muslim is required to leave off? This is the second aspect. And then there's the third aspect, and that is, how do we as Muslims, how are we supposed to be? Right? But before we go there, there's another issue with the Sharia, and that is, what are the aims of the Sharia? Why do I have to, again, this was a theme that I was asked to speak about for children, but I don't think that, first and foremost, that time is up, and secondly, the way that I'm going to present it is for everyone, inshallah. What are the aims of the Sharia? Why aren't we allowed to drink alcohol? Why can't we drink alcohol? Why can't we gamble? It's my money, right? Why can't I gamble? Right? Why can't I deal in interest? Why can't I use credit cards? It makes life easy for me. Why can't I do it? Why can't I, this girl likes me and I like her. Why can't we be together? Why not? This doesn't make sense, right? Why not? It makes absolute sense. There's aims to the Sharia. All of the Sharia, all of it. Every aspect of the Sharia is there to protect, to establish and protect 7 God-given inalienable rights. 7 God-given inalienable rights. Not the rights of Muslims. Not the rights of Muslims. The rights of humanity. Right? And there's a hierarchy. And so every aspect, every law, every command, every prohibition in the Sharia is there to protect faith. It's there to protect life. And this is a hierarchy. So the order I'm giving it to you in is the order which gives precedence. Faith comes before life. Why? Because if you live your whole life without Iman, what good is that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Surah Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahman, Allama al-Quran, Khalaqa al-Insan. He revealed the Quran is mentioned before the fact that He created life. Why? Because life without the Quran is not merciful. Life without guidance, this isn't a life of mercy. And so the hidayah, the guidance, Iman, it's more important than life. This is why you would sacrifice your life to preserve your faith, right? And so the first is Iman, or faith. The second is life. The third is intellect. The fourth is, we would say, honor. The fifth is lineage. So intellect, because I said, why can't we drink? Why can't we, do these things? Because intellect, because the Sharia is there to preserve our mind. The Sharia is there to protect our intellect. Right? And honor and lineage. This is why fornication is forbidden, because you don't want to dishonor this woman or this man, and you don't want to have children who are illegitimate. Right? And so in this way, the rules and regulations are there to protect honor and lineage. And then wealth and property are the last two. Wealth and then property. And so with wealth and property, this is why we don't gamble. This is why we don't deal in interest, right? And these are the real reason is because Allah commanded us. That's the real reason. But the wisdom behind it, is to establish and preserve these 7 God-given inalienable rights. But how many of us, we never learned this. And so when we're commanded to pray, we don't even know why. But prayer is at the very top. Prayer is there to preserve what? Faith. And faith is the most important right that you have in life. That's the most important right that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, is our faith. And so the act of prayer is an act which preserves the most valuable right that you have. It's the most valuable right that you have. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, He says what means that those people who commit shirk, they have committed dhulm, they have committed oppression to themselves. When you violate your faith, you've taken the greatest right that Allah blessed you with away from yourself. When you miss your prayers, when you stop praying, you violated the greatest right that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you, the right to faith. And so this is the weightiness, these are the aims of the Sharia, and we should know these things. Because by knowing why we do these things, why we can't do these things, what are the aims, the maqasid of the Sharia, by knowing these things, it enables us to sit back and say, I understand that everybody in society is doing wrong, or doing this or that action, but I'm not doing it because Allah blessed me with these rights, and I understand that these rules that He laid down, they're for me. Right? They're for me, and all these other people might be oppressing themselves. One of the things that we hear is that, brother, the Sharia is so hard to act upon, if you will, in America. It's so hard to live according to the Sharia in America. And the thing is that my question, I don't deny that it might be difficult for some people, but my question is the Sharia hard? Or has the society been so oppressive that now it's difficult? It's not that the Sharia is oppressive, it's that society has become so oppressive that our rights have been violated, and it's difficult for us to reestablish our rights again. So don't think of it as the Sharia is strict, the Sharia is hard, the Sharia is oppressive. No, society has become so oppressive that your rights have been violated, and now you're literally fighting to get your rights back. When you practice your Islam, that's the real civil rights movement, right? You're fighting for your rights. You're fighting for the rights that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed you with as a human. And we have to know this, because when you understand that makes it easier to apply these things in your life, inshallah ta'ala.